Primos is one of those shows that I can accurately describe as a 5 out of 10 show. On one hand, the show is extremely derivative of The Loud House, to the point where both shows do often share the same problems, down to the point of throwing fantastical elements into the show, in spite of the advertising suggesting that it would be more down to earth than it actually is. But on the other hand, the show sits into the category of being pretty bland and uninteresting, where the cousins are less interesting than the sisters, and the other characters are so pointless that they should have been cut out of the series. I mean, it may be better than how The Loud House had been in seasons 5 to onward, but not as good as how The Loud House was like at the start, especially when that show started focusing on the family dynamic. Meanwhile, Primo sits in this middle ground between not being as cruel to Tater as The Loud House had been towards Lincoln later and early on, but it also barely focuses on the cousins or their dynamic with Tater, which is honestly kind of strange when you think about it, especially when you factor in the controversy back in 2023, where the intro has misinformation about Spanish and Mexican culture, but as soon as it died down, not too many people talked about the show. But in spite of this, the episode Summer of Tater Luna is an episode that personally resonates with me, being someone who had trouble realizing which criticisms are worth taking and which ones are worth ignoring. Because realistically, it is difficult to please everyone, because while taking criticism is important to help you grow, there are also other criticisms that are not worth taking if it's not something that lines up with your personal preferences. Back in 2022, I went through this, being peer pressured into watching videos from a playlist that was in regards to an art style that I didn't even want to use in the first place, because my personal preferences is doing cartoony artwork because it's easier to do, and I have trouble doing more complex drawings, resulting in some pieces of artwork looking pretty rough, but said individual said that it was just making excuses, even though he was not even someone worth listening to in the first place, especially when he began rushing art out of me when he said that it got better with my artwork, no thanks to him and his friends, which is exactly what Tater goes through in this episode, where she stresses herself out by getting the suggestions from all of her cousins of what they think her anime character should look like, and unlike with other critic dressing episodes in other shows, where they spat in the faces of critics of the show who had valid complaints against the show, Summer of Tater Luna says that you don't need to take in every single suggestion if it's going to result in you having self-doubt, which I do think is a very nuanced lesson to teach any artist, or even those who have self-doubt about what they do in general.